If all this ends up not working, I can just make this a video called, like, how to survive your first live reaction video or something. Hi guys, I am so excited today to be joined by my two best friends, poet Kate Davis and translator Joaquin Gavilano. We're listening to the vault tracks from Taylor Swift's Speak Now, Taylor's version, and I forced them not to listen to them yet in preparation, so this is going to be a 100% real live reaction for all of us.
Woo, super excited.
Yep.
Still hoping that the fire won't burn me just one time. Just one time.
My first question.
Yeah.
Who is she speaking to here? Because it's like, it's all commands
She's
to
also
some person that she refers to as you. Yeah, it sounds really pessimistic.
I was gonna say, like, the entire beginning of the song sounds very moody and pessimistic, and like she kind of predicts that this is gonna end badly right from the beginning. But it's also somebody that she doesn't know that well because it's the first time they're hanging out. So maybe she's just in that. Maybe it's from the perspective of a narrator that like just ended a relationship and they're like going into this other one, but they're still kind of thinking about their past and how
Yeah.
ended badly, and they're using that to like kind of predict how this relationship is going to go as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So like the first line is like a list of commands. Just read, just relax, it'll be okay. Um, and that sounds like commands that she's giving to herself.
Yeah,
But
it
then
does.
she
Right.
says, just an hour till your car's in the driveway. And I don't think she's talking about herself there.
Oh, it might just be that
Oh
she
yeah,
didn't
do we
think.
switch perspective
Uh-huh.
then?
So I don't know, I'm having like a disconnect there.
I think it's her inner, like, it starts with her, like, telling herself, reminding herself, and then switches perspective very quickly, which potentially shows that, like, her lyrics back then, or her lyric writing, wasn't as developed in those kind of small details that people are now a little bit better about changing perspectives.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But also it might be her in the driveway.
Could. Maybe we just need more context.
Yeah.
Okay, so she says just an hour till your car's in the driveway, just the first time ever hanging out with you tonight. So the you and the your are clearly about the same person, right? Because she's
Not
not hanging out with
necessarily.
herself.
Well, it depends on who the first sentence is directed toward. Because if it's directed toward herself, then the rest of it could also be toward herself,
Is it
which
the
is
first
super
time?
weird. Like, I don't think that's the
Is it the
case.
first time she's hanging out with herself? I don't think it's the first time she's hanging out with herself.
I don't think writers should analyze Taylor Swift lyrics.
Or pop music in general.
I think the
Like, on
your
one person.
I think the your is a perspective switch. Like I think she switches perspective to the your is like the love interest.
Yeah.
Your car's in the there. She's talking about her love interest.
Yeah,
That's what I think
I
too.
agree with that.
I'm glad we agree.
So we all agree.
Yep, it's decided.
We all agree.
I keep playing.
All I know is this could either break my heart or bring it back to life. Got a feeling your electric touch could fill this ghost town up with light. And I want you now, wanna need you forever in the heat of your electric touch.
Can I point out something that like she does in most of those lines? Like she is really leaning into like monosyllabic words throughout the whole thing, most of the thing, and it's just I think it's really well accompanied by the beat of the song, um, uh, which I don't know. It's things to like really consider when you're mixing writing and like music or some sort of rhythm to it. Yeah.
I also want to point out that she rhymes life with life.
She does that a lot in her earlier music.
Yes, that a
I don't
lot.
think.
I think it's definitely a sign of the time that
Yeah.
this was written.
Yeah.
She does the same thing with some other songs on the
Mhm.
Speak Now album.
I've been left in the rain, lost and pining. I'm trying hard not to look like I'm trying. Cause every time I tried hard for love, it fell apart. Oh. I've gotten used to no one calling my phone. I've grown accustomed to sleeping alone. Still, I know that all it takes is to get it right just one time. Just one time. All I know is this could either break my heart or bring it.
I think it's interesting that the first verse is in second person, but the second verse, when Patrick is singing, it's all in first. There is no call out to that you.
Well, maybe he's in the driveway now.
I was thinking just one time.
Just one
Maybe the stars align.
Just
And maybe I call you mine. And you won't need space or string me along while you decide. And just one time. Maybe the moment's right. It's 8:05 and I see two headlights.
Did y'all catch the 805 is 13?
I didn't think about that, but I did think it was funny that she specified 8:05 because, like, I think it's really funny anytime she mentions time in her songs. It's always like a really specific
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, no, but like 8 plus 5 is 13. Which, knowing her, is probably on purpose.
True. Yeah.
I say knowing her like I know her. I do think that, like, as much as I don't like Patrick Stump, I do think his voice in the background of this song goes pretty well. Taylor's.
All I know is this could either break my heart or bring it back to life. Got a feeling your electric touch. All I know is this could either break my heart or bring it back to life. Got a feeling your electric touch could fill this ghost town up with light. And I want you now, wanna need you forever in the heat of your electric touch.
Yeah, I don't know if this is gonna be like one of those songs I listen to often. It was fine.
I think I liked it. I mean, it feels very Speak Now Taylor, honestly. But maybe I think the reason
I
why
don't know about that
yeah, okay.
because I really like the album. Like I would say that this was my favorite album of hers, of her like old stuff.
To me,
So
I think that like the reason why it might have not been included is because it's too, I don't want to say generic, but it's kind of basic, but it still has some of those like Speak Now elements, if you know what I mean. So it was just like, it just didn't make the cut for those reasons, but I think it's a fine song.
I think it's okay. I'm like Hiba. I don't think it's a song that I'll necessarily go back to. I think it just needed like more of a build up. I expected it to like build up a little bit more throughout it, and it just pretty much stayed the same like sonically for me.
So I saw last night on I think Twitter that she said that this song is about her friend Emma, but she didn't specify which Emma, so everyone was like trying to speculate who it might be. And most people think that it's about Emma Stone.
Oh yeah, I did see that. I did see that it was being talked about that this was about Emma Stone.
Interesting. That is cool. Let me pull up the lyrics before we start. Oh, that's bright. I already love this piano.
Yeah, me too.
Emma
too.
falls in love love, she paces the floor, closes the blinds and locks the door. She's the kind of book that you can't put down. Like if Cleopatra grew up in a small town. And all the bad boys would be good boys if they only had a chance to love her. And to tell you the truth, sometimes I wish I was her.
I'm really liking this.
I like this a lot more than Electric Touch already. I think it's a good kind of flip of the traditional love song format that focuses all on this idea of like falling in love with the boy, right? And instead it's like kind of flipping the perspective and talking more about the girl. So I think that's interesting. And I think that's a good like flipping of that scenario.
Yeah, I think Taylor Swift does really interesting things with perspectives and love songs. Given like what she did in Folklore with Dorothea and songs like that. Of course, I'm like drawing.
Right,
a
but
blank
but she wrote this a long time before she wrote those songs. So it's kind of like
Absolutely.
interesting to see that she's already kind of taking those kind of things and thinking
Yeah,
about them in a different
absolutely.
way.
And I do wonder about like whether her team was maybe like worried about the reception of the song at the time because it was less common to have it from like a
Yeah.
female perspective, and just like not as popular. But now she is able to take more risks with her music. So
Right.
I have two things. One, I really like the start reminded me a lot of Tears from Jupiter, just like the melody and the way she's singing those first few lines. There's two things that I found interesting from the lyrics. In her music, she uses a lot of like water and rain imagery, and this is I feel like for all her eras. And there's like a line about little Miss Sunshine always thinks it's gonna rain. And the other thing that like I caught my attention that I thought was nice was bringing in Cleopatra into like a scenario where she's growing up in a small town, which I find is actually like really cool. I could see like a whole, I don't know, like middle school Cleopatra living in, I don't know, the Midwest is kind of funny scenario to me. So I don't know. I mean I really like this song so far.
Emma met a boy with eyes like a man. Turns out her heart fits right in the palm of his hand. Now he'll be her shelter when it rains. Little does he know his whole world's about to change. 'Cause she's the kind of book that you can't put down. Like if Cleopatra grew up in a small town. And all the bad boys would be good boys if they only had a chance to love her. And to tell you the truth, sometimes I wish I was her. Yeah, between me and you, sometimes I wish I was her.
Interesting ending.
yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I feel like both of these songs were kind of not as great as the rest of Speak Now. So I understand why they're in the vault. It wasn't a bad song at all. Like, it was fine. I would listen to it. It's just not one that I see myself repeatedly listening to.
Gotcha.
So the part that confused me was the bridge when she says she's so New York when she's in LA, she won't lose herself in love the way that I did because she'll call you out, she'll put you in a place. When Emma falls in love, I'm learning. Like the whole song kind of works against that idea because right before it, the verse before it, it talks about how she only leaves if she knows she absolutely has to. So I'm kind of intrigued by placing that verse and that bridge so close together because they seem like opposing ideas to me. So I'm wondering if this song travels through time somehow in a way that's not clear. Like maybe this was when Emma fell in love the first time, and this is Emma now. Like Emma's learned not to lose herself in love anymore. But it's not completely clear if we're like traveling through two different time frames or not. That's the only way I could see, or that's the way that I saw those two opposing ideas working. But what did you guys think?
I see what you mean. Like cause okay, the attitude in the bridge, it's like this person knows herself, basically. Like she's so New York, so she's like blunt, or kind of like knows who she is, even when she's in LA, where people are more like, I guess, known to be, I don't know what's a good word, like vain. So she's pointing her out to be this like kind of strong, independent person. And when she falls in love, I learn from her, from like whatever she's going through. But yeah, in the rest of the song, it's kind of like Emma gets kind of bossed around by the person she's with. Is that kind of what y'all are getting to?
Well, I mean, there's in verse 2, it says when Emma falls in love, she disappears.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
I
a
would
very
argue,
strong
Yeah.
image.
that's true.
I would argue that verse 2 is the odd one out. Because I think
Okay.
the rest of the song is super consistent.
Sure.
But verse 2 comes out of nowhere. Like even more so than the bridge. But like I feel like the first verse and the bridge are consistent.
It could be that verse 2 is
Gotcha.
talking specifically about like a relationship where she disappeared, or like, yeah, it does stand out because it is a little different. It is different in the personality.
Maybe each verse is a different,
different
relationship that
relationship?
Emma was in.
Yeah, I can see
Yep.
that.
That could be it.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. When Emma, yeah, each verse is a different relationship that Emma had.
Nice. Go
That's what I'm
team.
going with.
Or
Nice.
maybe,
Woo, we
maybe
figured
like
it
every
out.
time maybe it's every time she says when Emma falls in love, it's a different
Right.
Yeah.
love. Because even like within the verses themselves, you have like in verse 2, you have when Emma falls in love, it's all on her face. When Emma falls in love, she disappears.
Oh, so
And
you're
then
saying,
like later, because when Emma falls in love, she's in it for keeps.
so you're like splitting it up even more than the verses.
Yeah. But I don't
I
know.
can see it happen. I mean, sure. I feel like when
I think the last verse is the person that Emma ended up with.
The last one?
Yep, verse 3. So Emma met a boy with eyes like a man. Turns out her heart fits right in the palm of his hand. Now he'll be her shelter when it rains. Little does he know his whole world's about to change.
It's also confusing because like all those lyrics seem at odds with one another.
Right.
Maybe it's in the line, she's so New York when she's in LA. Like, she's only like that person when she's in LA, but the rest of the time she's like New York.
I think so, it kind of ties it up because in verse 1, again with the verse of like Little Miss Sunshine thinks it's always gonna rain. So she's kind of potentially pessimistic about these relationships, like none of them are gonna work out. And then by verse 3, she found someone who will be her shelter when it rains. So it's not
Yeah.
like she
Yeah.
found this stability of some sort, I guess.
Yep. Yeah.
That's cool. I
That
think
makes
that makes sense
sense.
that each verse is like a different relationship, or at least a string of relationships of some sort. I'm a little kind of, the outro is Taylor speaking directly, or not directly, but like she's speaking to the listener, confessing that she wishes she was Emma. Is it because Emma found stability and Taylor hasn't in her relationships at this point?
I think so.
Yeah, I think
What is that
that's
is?
it. Yeah, I mean it is really sad,
It is quite
but I
sad.
think that's true.
Oh wow.
You brush past me in the hallway and you don't think I can see it through you. I've been watching you for ages and I spend my time trying not to feel it. But what would you do if I went to touch you now? What would you do if they never found us out? What would you do if we never made up? Cause I can see you waiting down the hall from me, and I can
I'm not surprised that she released a video for this, and made it like the de facto single from this, just because it seems like the catchiest song so
It
far.
is a
Like
banger.
it definitely has the catchiest hook. The catchiest hook, yeah, for sure.
Yep.
The minute this started, I was like, everyone's gonna be replaying this one.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think so far it's a banger.
Baby, if you only know, and I can see you, throw your jacket on the floor. I can see you, make me want you even more. What would you do, baby, if you only knew? But I can see you, oh, I can see you. I see you, baby. I see you. I see you, baby. Oh, baby.
That reminded me a lot of Glitch, I think it's called. Yeah, that really reminded me of Glitch
Oh yeah.
from Midnight's.
Yeah.
It's like the more explicit version of Glitch.
Yeah. I feel like this song gives me little to react to because it's mainly chorus, you know? It's like chorus and
Yeah.
mostly nothing else going on, which I mean, it's fine. It's catchy, it's cool, it's poppy. The lyric video was really good. This is also the one that she actually made a video for. So
It's the video that Kate really wants to watch that
Yeah.
that I didn't let her watch.
Yeah, she said I could not watch it. It's fine. But yeah, sonically this does not remind me of Speak Now at all. Like this is very different from the rest of the album. I'm not surprised it was not included in that album because especially for the time, I think this would have been very risky to include on that album. So I'm not surprised they didn't.
I'm not sure that I completely buy that this was written in that era. Like, I think this is a more recently written one that she's passing off as being from the vault, but that was actually written now.
I think
Just because of its
I wonder
similarity to
I wonder
Glitch.
if maybe the lyrics were written
exactly.
when she was writing Speak Now, but she wrote the melody and the music for it more recently.
So you know how
I can see that.
she writes her songs with a guitar and piano usually, just like either one of those two. I can see her like writing this out and playing it, but like the production never went through because this definitely feels like obviously
Yeah.
this version was obviously produced now, but I don't think there was like a polished version of it back then.
Right.
This was produced by Jack Antonoff. I just saw. So that makes a lot of sense. That it sounds
Yeah,
like
that does
more
make a lot of
recent stuff.
sense.
Yeah.
Once I had an empire in a golden age. I was held up so high. I used to be great. They used to cheer when they saw my face. Now I fear I have fallen from grace. And I feel like my castle's crumbling down, and I watch all my bridges burn to the ground. And you don't want to know me, I will just let you down.
I think so far, just like based on what we've heard so far, this might be my favorite
Wow.
of the vault tracks. I think the lyrics are delivering, music is delivering, production, everything's great.
Yeah, lyrically, I was just thinking about like, Speak Now is her third album, at least from what we've seen of her and like her documentary and like interviews and stuff. She's constantly like dealing with anxiety and fear of kind of having to reinvent herself all the time and all that stuff, right? And in a way it's fear of losing that fame. That's why like she keeps having to reinvent herself. And I guess at this point like it is, so she did really well with her first two albums, and here she's just kind of grappling with like am I peaking? Like is this And in hindsight, it's really funny because it's like this girl is just doesn't. It seems like she doesn't peak so far, right? So yeah, I don't know.
I wonder though if this song is even from her perspective or if she's writing about a different person. I could see this song being not necessarily about herself, but about somebody else.
Possibly.
See this being a reaction to what happened with Kanye at the time,
How did that happen?
because she also
Oh, yeah, it
wrote
did.
she also wrote Innocent around this time. So like this could have been like another bit of her.
Maybe.
Could have been more lyrics from that era or from that experience.
Yeah.
Once I was the great hope for a dynasty. Crowds would hang on my words and they trusted me. The faith was strong, but I pushed it too far. I held that grudge till it tore me apart. Power went to my head and I couldn't stop. Ones I loved tried to help, so I ran them off. And here I sit alone behind walls of regret, falling down like promises that I never kept. And I feel like my castle's crumbling down, and I watch all my bridges burn to the ground. And you don't want to know me, I will just let you die. You don't wanna know me now. My foes and friends watch my reign, and I don't know how it could have ended this way. Smoke billows from my ships in the harbor. People look at me like I'm a monster. Now they're screaming that the palace front gates used to chant my name. Now they're screaming that they hate me. Never wanted you to hate me. My castle's crumbling down, and I watch all my bridges burn to the ground. And you don't want to know me, I will just let you down. My castle's crumbling down. You don't wanna know me
That was dark.
Yeah, I see why this didn't make the album. I feel like this is Innocent Part 2, but like Innocent is speaking to Kanye and like from Kanye's perspective, whereas this is like Taylor's side of the story.
Yeah,
And I just feel like people wouldn't have sympathized with her as much if she had released this at the time instead of Innocent. And so that's why they went with Innocent, but I feel like they're basically the same song. I did really like this, but again, I don't see it being one that I play often.
I don't know, man. I like this. I think it's super vulnerable, very dark. I do like the fact that they brought Hayley Williams in for this, right? Didn't they? They did.
Yeah.
This was
Mhm.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Because like, so Hayley Williams and Taylor Swift were kind of like reaching or rising in fame at the same time, kind of. And I do think that bringing in another artist who, but you know, has been on the spotlight and like has received a lot of hate from people who really liked their music, you know, like Misery Business, for example, being a song that people loved, and then now it's completely shifted and Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I like this song. And I do like there's like a part in between, I think it's like a verse or there's like a bridge or something, where they're both kind of just making like, they're not howls, but almost feels like ghost sounds. And it adds a lot to the mood, in my opinion, to like, you know, castles that are crumbling and there's like memories and stuff. So it's kind of like, yeah, it does remind me of ghosts. Yeah, I think it's a good song.
Yeah, this one was also produced by Jack Antonoff, just FYI.
Interesting.
I agree with you in terms of like adding Hayley Williams. I think that was really smart. And she adds a lot to the song. What are your thoughts, Kate?
I like this song. I like that it's kind of a song that takes the risk of just like sitting in this kind of depression, this space of depression and anxiety. And it doesn't try to comfort in a kind of like insincere way. It just kind of lets the speaker of the song kind of process that depression and speak about it, and it doesn't try to like provide a solution or anything like that. It just kind of says this is what's going on, and I like that. I like that it doesn't go into that insincere space of like trying to offer like a fake positivity or something like that.
For sure.
Yeah, and that also probably contributed to it not being on the album.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think one of you said that this song, a reason why this song probably wasn't released at the time, because I think it's good enough to have been included in the album, but like, yeah, the reception might have been really off if she's getting like a lot of haters at the moment and like people, you know, being divided about her and a lot of rumors and things like conversation about her relationships. Had this been released at the time, it would have been like, oh, you know, woe is me kind of song. But yeah, in hindsight, it is quite good.
I think this is similar to Haunted as well.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah, I think Castles Crumbling is the perfect marriage of Innocent and Haunted together.
Oh, cool.
But I think it's a little bit too introspective and like self-aggrandizing. I don't know if that's the right word, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's too wrapped up in the self, because it, like Kate pointed out, it doesn't really offer a solution. Whereas I feel like Innocent kind of does in some ways, because it's not from her perspective. And Haunted also, I just think, is a better track in general. By the way, the new Haunted is so damn good.
I still have to hear the
Production.
whole album.
Amazing. So good. But yeah, Haunted is like directed at a person, so
Mhm.
it's a little bit different. It's more of like a breakup song.
Yeah, I guess that's another reason why I really like this song, is because it's talking about depression and sorrow in a very atypical way for what Taylor usually does. Like, this isn't sorrow caused by a breakup or by somebody not being in love with her. It's like a very it feels like a very truer representation of like depression as something that comes from an inward kind of struggle.
More like anxiety driven.
Yeah,
Yeah, and especially for that time, for her music at that time.
right.
Yeah, for sure.
And at that time, I feel like she was known for breakup songs, and so like it wouldn't have been received well by her audience. I feel like we're saying the same thing in different ways now.
Odds are on the table, yours are in your hand. Chances are tonight you already got plans, and chances are I will talk myself to sleep again. You give me just enough attention to keep my hopes too high. Wishful thoughts forget to mention when something's really not right, and I will block out these voices of reason in my head. And the voices say you are not the exception. You will never learn your lesson. Foolish one, stop checking your mailbox for confessions of love that ain't never gonna come. You will take the long way, you will take the long way down.
can I say, this feels very fearless to me. From the like guitar strumming, the lyrics, the like, I don't know, it feels very like high school romantic kind of vibe.
I would agree.
'Cause you got her on your arm and me in the wings. I'll get your longing glances, but you'll get your ring. And you will say you had the best of intentions. And maybe I will finally learn my lesson. Foolish one, stop checking your mailbox for confessions of love that ain't never gonna come. You will take the long way, you will take the long way down. Foolish one, stop checking your mailbox for confessions of love that ain't never gonna come. You will learn the hard way instead of just walking out. Oh, 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 la, 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 oh, la, 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 they're never gonna come. Ooh, you will learn the hard way now. Foolish one, sitting round waiting for confessions of love they ain't never gonna come, and thinking he's the one you should have been walking out. Foolish one, the day is gonna come for your confessions of love. When all is said and done, he just wasn't the one. No, he just wasn't the one.
I like the ending more than the rest of the song.
I had a
Which
similar
I
thought.
did not like this song. It felt very like it's like one note. It felt very one dimensional to me. It just like I didn't like it. I did not like this one. Sorry, Taylor. Sorry.
What I thought
The
was
ending
that
was good. I really liked the ending. But the rest of it, yeah, it's not her best.
I agree that like for all of the song, I was just thinking like there are 20 other Taylor Swift songs that are doing the exact same thing as this one. So like I don't think this one would stand out, but there got to a point near like closer to the ending that shifted a little bit, and I was like, oh, this is actually a little bit different than those other songs that I'm thinking of, and like that would be the one like saving point for it as well. Not that it's bad, it just sounds very similar to other things, and it's
Honestly,
not
it
creative
reminds
enough. I don't know.
me. It reminds me of her debut era a little bit. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree.
It's just like it's very Taylor Swift like beginning.
To me, it sounds more. I mean, I said fearless, but I stand by it. I think it does sound more fearless than her debut, but I could also see it in that debut album.
Okay, so we did not like this song.
It's fine.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Down the block there's an antique shop, and something in my head said stop, so I walked in. On the counter was a cardboard box, and the sign said photos, 25 cents each. Black and white, saw a 30s bride and two lovers laughing on the porch of their first house. The kind of love that you only find once in a lifetime, the kind you don't put down. And that's when I called you, and it's so hard to explain, but in those photos I saw us instead. And somehow I know that you and I would have found each other. In another life you still would have turned my head, even if we'd met on a crowded street in 1944 and you were headed
So we didn't stop at all for that one.
No, we didn't. It was a really nice lyric video.
It was.
I like this song. I think it was fine, but again, I'm not sure it's one that I will play repeatedly. I think it's doing the same thing that Mary's song did on the debut. But I think Mary's song is better.
I don't know that one.
I think this song showcases one of Taylor's strengths, which is this idea of starting with a scene, like a very specific scene, pointing out very specific details in that scene, and then expanding it out to a larger idea. I think she's really strong at kind of using that technique to build a song, and I think this is an example of that.
That's a good point. I'm really curious about some of those photos and clips and if there's any relation to her or they're just like... Because, okay, the last lyric is like, I saw an antique shop and I thought stop, so I went in, which is like, okay. So are these like maybe things she found in an antique shop, like a collection of photos? Maybe I missed something, I don't know.
Taylor does this thing often where she'll like speak from the perspective of somebody else, but she'll
Mhm.
use the first person.
Yeah.
So she'll like inhabit their body. So
Yeah.
again, I think this is telling a very similar story to the one in Mary's song,
Okay.
which she also tells in the first person. But I do think Mary's song does it better. I think the storytelling here shows some of her growth, though. Like I think the storytelling was tight and
I agree.
vivid, but
Yeah.
I still don't know if it's necessarily like saving the song as a whole for me. Like I don't know if I can say that I like this song necessarily, but it wasn't a bad song.
To me, and this is just personal preference, it felt a little too long for me. It had maybe one verse too many. And I tend to not be that, like, I just lose focus. If I'm listening to a song like this, I would skip it halfway through because it's not ending. But it's not, it doesn't mean it's a bad song or bad lyrics or storytelling. It's just the genre, I suppose.
Yeah, it was 5 minutes and 22 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's the danger of like telling a story in a song is that
It's also-
you're gonna feel like you have to tell the complete story, and doing that is gonna take up a lot of time. So.
Yeah, the specific melody and rhythm she chose is slow, so that adds to it as well. But I mean, some people love that, so
I could see this playing in like the background at a wedding.
it's a nice little romantic song. So overall, how did you guys feel about all of these?
I like
Um,
I like the From the Vault tracks from Red better.
Okay. I do like the red ones a lot. At least some of them. Yeah, I think like out of these, I think I could say I could hear myself or I could see myself listening to like 3 at most. But I did like the Poppy one that the one that has a video. I could probably like listen to that. And what's the other one I liked? The one with Hayley Williams. I enjoyed. And I think the first one was fine. Like I think it can grow on me. I think that's the one with Fall Out Boy.
Electric Touch.
Electric Touch.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the other three
Electric Boy.
the other three were a little slow or didn't stand out to me. But yeah.
Yeah, I think all of these are going to be acquired tastes for me. I like some of them a lot, but
Yeah.
I'm not that kind of person that can immediately listen to a song and say whether I like it or not.
Oh, for sure.
necessarily. Yeah, but I love this album as a whole, so I do have high hopes for these
Yeah.
tracks. Just because I like the rest of Speak Now so
Mhm.
much.
Yeah, I wonder how my opinion will change about them as I listen to them more. Because I kind of felt the same way about Midnights, where the bonus tracks, like
Mm.
they didn't really stand out to me at first. But then as I started listening to them more, like I started to like them more and more. So maybe
Agreed.
that will happen too, you know?
Yeah, I'm hoping that happens for me, because I agree with that. I felt the same way about Midnights. About the Midnights bonus tracks, I mean.
Yeah. It's also good to like remember that they are in the vault for a reason. Like they weren't released because either thematically they're not congruent or reception could have been off at the time. You know, there's so many things that go into that selection to make like one unified album. So that I do think that's a big reason why bonus tracks tend to feel odd at first, especially if you're like listening them straight out of the real album, like the complete album. But yeah.
All right, favorite one though. You got to pick your favorite one.
Ooh,
I'm
that's
gonna
hard
s-
because
I'm gonna say Castles Crumbling. That's mine.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I was gonna say that one too, but now I feel like I'm copying you.
I know, that's why I said it first. So no.
Kate was ready.
Okay, no, because I actually said it while we were listening. I foresaw this because I know you.
I don't know if he said it while we were listening. Joaquin, roll the tape. Can you roll the tape on that?